Good afternoon. Welcome to the Add Delete List meeting of the Columbus City Council. We have 5 counselors in the House, and we have Councilor Woodson is on the virtual show for us, and so we are going to get starting. We are looking today to work through the Add Delete list. This is the list that Council put together over the last 2 meetings to say that these are items that some of our department directors have asked us to add to their budget request, and in order to do that, it has to be on the Add Delete list. I will remind counselors that if you put something on the add list, you must find the money for it. That's not always easy to do. But we are going to try to move through this in the next hour or so, doing as much as we can, and then our regular council meeting will begin at 5:30. As we start this afternoon, I want to go to the mayor and then to the city manager for their words of wisdom to us. So let's start with the mayor.
You confused me with words of wisdom. That and technology served to make it start late. Well, Madam Budget Chair, thank you, and thank the council for working so hard to try to listen to the department heads and to review this budget so carefully. It is a strange budget in a way because it follows a year in which we really kind of kept everything close to the vest. We really didn't know what to expect from the pandemic, and it made, frankly, crafting this budget more difficult. So I applaud all of your hard work. All I'll say is that I appreciate so much the efforts of staff as they have continued to try to work and provide the necessary information to be able to put this together. The guidance that our finance director and her team, our city manager and the deputy city managers have put into this has been just an incredible job. I appreciate your comments to start off with. I will remind them, though, that a source of revenue, because we do have a lot of recurring expenses on the Add Delete list in the form of personnel. And of course, personnel being added can't very well be pulled out, the cost cannot be pulled out of a fund balance account. As we've spoken many times, it's like paying your mortgage with your savings account. You don't stay in the house long that way. But I will remind them that if they want to ask the finance director for her thoughts on whether or not an anticipated increase in revenue would be enough to cover one or more of these items. So as council is looking for ways to find something to cut within the budget, that is an alternative. But keep in mind that there's only so much water in the well, and as she is asked that, eventually the answer is going to be no, there's no more room. So with that, I'll pass it on to our city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Madam Budget Chair. I'd just like to thank the mayor for his leadership in pulling together this budget, and thank, as he has done, the staff and the finance director and her staff for all of their hard work through this process. I do want to mention just one thing, and I'm not trying to influence your decision, but make sure that you make an informed decision, and it's relative to one of the Add Delete items related to the Public Defender's Office, and this is just for your information. I want to make clear that it's understood that the state sets the salaries for the public defender's office across the state. The state sets the salaries. And so when they set those salaries, they will add, the city is responsible for those costs for benefits and so forth, and so the city's cost when they set those salaries are commensurate with the salaries that they set. And I wanted to make clear that it is understood that the state provide state pay raises to state employees. And when they do provide those state pay raises to state employees, the cost for the city further increases because you've got to cover those benefits. And would remind you that some years the state will get, let's say, a 2% pay increase and the city employees get no pay increase. And then sometimes the state gets, let's say, a 2% increase, and over the years prior to this mayor, the city employees got a 0.5%, and you remember those 0.5% pay raises. Well, they got the 2% when city employees were getting a 0.5%. And so if they get a pay raise, I wanted to make sure that it's clear that it adds to our local cost, and they will get your pay raise here locally, and then if the state has a pay raise, they will get the state pay raise as well. And even if the city employees did not get a pay raise and the state provides a pay raise, they get that pay raise. And so it's kind of like they can get it twice. You know, one.
Mr. Mayor, City Manager, they are awarded the pay raise, but the city pays it, right?
The city.
They are awarded the state pay raise, but we have to put the money there.
We pay for the benefits, is that right? Finance Director, won't you help me? And while she is trying to figure out what she's trying to figure out, I'll go on to say that, or remind you that while the public defender are state employees, we have Superior Court judges who are state employees. We have the judges' secretaries who are state employees. We have assistant district attorneys who are state employees. We have cooperative extension employees are state employees. And so if you give a pay raise to one state employee, then are you giving it to the state court, the state judges and the state paid secretary and the state assistant district attorneys? Or are you just singling out one group of state employees? And I hate to confuse you, but I just need you to know that, because of course if I was a state employee and assistant DA and you gave it to a public defender, state employee, I would want to know where my pay adjustment is. I mean, are you giving it to me as well? And so would you answer that question for the budget chair?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. It is the salary of some as well as the benefits associated with those salaries. There are certain county paid positions in the public defender's office, and there are also state paid positions. So what they're asking for is an adjustment to the county paid positions.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. City Manager, if you want to continue.
So did I say that correctly in what I said about the state public defenders? And correct me if I'm wrong.
The state does fix the salary for the public defenders in the public defender's office. We do pay the salary and the benefits for some public defender employees.
So when the state provides a state pay adjustment, the public defenders get it?
That's correct.
And so when the state provides a pay raise, the state court, the judges who are state employees get it, the secretaries get it, the assistant DAs who are state employees, they all get that state paid
Yes, they get those merit-based increases unless it is defined under some other law in terms of how their salary is set.
Okay. So I just want to make sure they're making an informed decision.
Right.
And I want you to correct me if I said something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So I just needed to clear that up before you go voting, that you know that once you do, if you grant it, and I'm not by any means saying don't, that other state employees may get in line, state paid employees.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Anything else? Okay. I have had a couple of people ask me in the last several weeks about the procedure that we are going through here and what we have been doing as adopting a budget. And for FY22, the year that we are in now, when the pandemic hit last March, we didn't have a clue what that was going to mean to us. Was it going to last 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever? And so we had to be, and at that point, we were beginning the process of putting together the budget for FY21. We were very careful that we did not overspend, that we were not too energetic with all of the things that we were doing, because we did not know what this was going to mean to us. I agree with the city manager and with the mayor that our staff has been tremendous in making sure that during this unprecedented time, we have gotten through. We have gotten the money that we need to do the work of the city. And we are not out of that danger yet. We still are not sure exactly what all is going on with state money and federal money and so forth. So we want to make haste slowly so that we don't spend money that we don't have or that we are not entitled to. And with that, unless there's someone else around the table that would like to address the group, I'm going to turn it over to our finance director for her to get us started. Any of the councilors wish to address the group? It looks like, Ms. Alexander, it's yours.
Yes, ma'am. So the list that you have before you...
I'm sorry, Ms. Alexander. Would you give us what you see as our process and procedure and how we will be dealing with each one of these items as we go along as part of your presentation?
Yes, ma'am. So each item that's listed here is numbered. Council or the Budget Review Committee will vote on each item individually unless those items work in tandem. At that moment, I would advise what those items are. If you approve, such as if you approve one, then you also have to approve this other item. But we will work through the list one by one, and we need to have 6 votes in the affirmative in order for that adjustment to be made to the mayor's proposed budget. If there is no conclusion, then there is no adjustment to the budget. So in terms of the list that you have before you, the first item on the list, it is a staff adjustment for the Clerk of Superior Court's office. There was an addition of 1 full-time deputy clerk, too, that was not included in the budget, that was intended to be included in the budget. The amount of this addition is $44,096. This represents 0.09 general fund balance days.
It is a reoccurring expense, is that correct?
That is correct. It is a personnel expense that is reoccurring.
Madam Budget Chair, she said that should have been included there was a sheriff issue and a clerk of superior court issue that should have been in the budget, and it was our error that it did not, and that's why we brought it as staff additions, and we're asking for your approval on those.
And so you're saying that we have the funds currently in the budget process?
Yes.
To cover that 44,000?
Yes, not only for her, but for the sheriff. They were both staff omissions.
All right. We have a motion by Councilor Crabb to approve this and a second by Councilor Tucker. I'm sorry? To approve 1 and 2? Let's do them separately, if you will. Item 1. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, Ms. Alexander, you want to tell us about number 2?
Number 2 is a reclassification in the sheriff's office, reclassifying a health services administrator. It's a G21 position to a licensed clinical social worker / licensed practicing counselor, G20. This is a budget neutral request of the sheriff to make this position title change.
Any motion by Councilor Tucker, second by Councilor Crabb. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
Third item on the list was placed on the add delete list by Councilor Woodson. It is for the tax commissioner's office. It is to reclassify 19 tax clerk positions. Those positions are tax clerk 1 G10 being reclassified to a tax clerk 1 G12, and then the tax clerk 2 grade 11 positions are being reclassified to tax clerk 2 grade 13 at a total cost, including benefits, of $48,661, which represents 0.09 fund balance days.
Move approval.
Councilor House.
Thank you. I just wanted to add, Madam Budget Chair, that was the day you were missing, and that items 3 through 8 would all come out of the fund balance.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilor Woodson on our Teams meeting to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Tucker. Any discussion? Councilor Crabb.
Okay, so up in the top right-hand corner, we have the days of 98.76. What is our goal to have as our fund balance days?
Well, by policy, I'm sorry, I'm talking. Are you?
Yes, I'm talking to
okay.
you. Whoever can answer that question, and I think that's you.
Well, according to our current policy, our goal is to have at least 90 days. That's 90.0 days of fund balance reserves. That is our goal. Administratively, our minimum is 60 days, and that is at the recommendation of the Government Finance Officers Association. But our goal is 90 days of fund balance reserves.
So did you happen, before we go into this meeting, did you happen to add up the items that were going to be coming out of the fund balance? And if you did, could you tell us how those items affect our fund balance, the number of days?
Well, that is to the far right of the document that you have, where it says GF FAL days, where you see the in parentheses with the numbers. If you go down to the second page, you'll see the total there of all the items that's currently on the list yet to be approved, and that amounts to 0.58 days. So that's about half of a day.
So it would take us to 98.17.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, And Madam Chair, if I may just to,
Sure, go ahead.
and I think, Mayor, were you about to say? No. So the finance director explained the Government Finance Officers Association says no less than 60. Our administrative policy says we want 90 days. And I believe we are at about 102 at this point. So we're going to be coming back to you to propose to you a new administrative policy. And I don't want to get ahead of, and I just want to say to you, we were upside down in that we were using the other local option sales tax to keep us at 60 days. And you know, we were at 60 and then we fell right below 60 at one point 2 years ago. And so our goal was to get us right side up, and that is not have more OLOS funds keeping us at 60 than we do just the local option sales tax funds. We needed to get right side up. And so we are right side up right now. And so we have.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think you could answer this while you're explaining the other. Because I'm looking at this now, and I see where it says general fund is 59.75, and then OLOS is 38.42, and then that gets us to 98.17. So I think what you're saying is we want to get this general fund at least above 60.
No less than 60. Yes, above 60 is one way to say it. No less than 60. And we're at 59 point whatever.
So the items on this add delete, I'm going to rephrase my question now that you brought that to my attention. The items on this add delete list that are coming out of the general fund, are they coming out of the general fund or are they coming out of OLOS?
Well, and the finance director, I'll ask her to respond to that. Okay. I'm going to finish my thought. Okay. So we want no less than 60 out of the reserve local option sales tax. And then that 38 is the other local option sales tax. And that's how you get to the 98. Now, we used to be upside down. Now we're right side up. When we just got there. And so what we have done using OLOS for public safety, and I'm going to need the finance director to help me with it, in order to have enough in the OLOS reserve to fund our ongoing commitment, we need how many days?
About 32.
About 32. So we want 60 days in local option sales tax, the normal reserve, and we want no less than 32 in the OLOS to take care of all of the public safety things that you, the council, have committed to. And so when we bring back an updated fund balance reserve policy, I don't know what it's going to say, but it's going to say that we want at least 60 days, or what we propose, we want at least 60 days in the reserve local option sales tax, and we want at least 32 in OLOS reserve for a total administrative policy of, let's say, 92. It won't be exactly that, but somewhere close. And that way, we know that if something comes up, that we can take care of our OLOS public safety commitments without question out of reserve. But if something comes up in the regular reserve that's not public safety, or is public safety. It can be used, both. Both. We can take care of that, and we therefore would have some revised administrative policy. I hate to get into all of that, but I want you to be thinking about that as you make these decisions.
Right, thank you. That's
Councilor
kind of
Crabb.
what I think that's kind of what I was leading to. I'd like to see a big picture so that we stay within the picture frame. We don't venture out, because we could get ourselves into trouble if we don't know the big picture. So that was very good. Thank you.
On this list, there is a $16,000 postage increase, $9,000 contractual services increase, and a $12,500 office supplies increase for the tax commissioner's office. None of those, correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Alexander, Madam Finance Director, none of those would be OLOF's expenses. Is that correct?
That's correct.
They would all have to come out of the general fund reserve. They are, however, also not reoccurring. Isn't that correct? They're not reoccurring as personnel expenses are.
That's correct. They are not reoccurring personnel expenses. But if you place these additions into the tax commissioner's budget from a base budget standpoint, next year she'll start out with that same operating budget, and it'll continue unless there are some other adjustments that are made.
What is your pleasure? We have a motion on the table. Have a question from Councilor Allen. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Finance Director, is it true that the tax commissioner postage is recouped through fees that are paid by the those purchasing a tag?
There is a revenue line that we do receive revenue to for postage fees that are collected by the tax commissioner's office. That is all part of the general fund budget. It's not specifically dedicated or committed to the tax commissioner's office. It's just a part of the general fund overall budget. But yes, we do collect and receive, well, the tax commissioner collects and do remit to us the fees that has been received for postage.
So if I'm understanding what you're saying right, is the $16,000 is an expense in her budget, but it is recouped to our general fund.
Yes, we do receive revenues from postage fees collected by the tax commissioner's office.
Okay, thank you.
Is the same true of the contractual services and office supply? No.
I do not believe so. I mean, there are various fees that are collected by the tax commissioner's office. There isn't one in terms of contractual services or office supplies that I could say we receive specifically for that particular expense item, besides the postage.
Mayor Pro Tem.
What is the current motion that we have? Do we have a motion on the floor?
We have a motion on the floor to approve item number 3 and 7. And we have a motion and a second to approve item number 3. Any further discussion? Those in favor of item number 3 say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Not at this point. We could have before we voted. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 who voted in the affirmative and 1 in the negative. Oh, I'm sorry, 7, Mimi, Councilor Woodson. Motion passes. Madam Finance Director.
Next item is the reclassification. It was placed on the add-delete list by Councilor Woodson for the Tax Commissioner's Office. It is reclassifying a tax specialist grade 16 to financial analyst grade 19. The total cost with benefits is $6,275. This represents 0.01 days of fund balance.
Any discussion?
Move approval?
Moved approval by Councilor Woodson. Councilor Tucker, did you second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Did you oppose, Councilor? Okay. Item 4 passes. Number 5.
Number 5 was added by Councilor Woodson, also for the Tax Commissioner's Office. It's for postage, an increase in postage of $16,000. This represents 0.03 fund balance reserves.
Move approval?
Motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilor Tucker. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. Ms. Alexander?
All right. Next item on the list is item number 6, added by Councilor Woodson for the Tax Commissioner's Office. It is a contractual services expense increase of $9,000. This represents 0.02 days.
Any
Move
discussion?
approval.
Councilor Woodson moves approval. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Tucker. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
Next item on the list was added by Councilor Tucker, also for the Tax Commissioner's Office, is to reclassify the Chief Deputy Tax Commissioner from a grade 21D to a grade 23B. This amount is $10,772 with benefits, and this represents 0.02 fund balance days.
Any discussion? Councilor Crabb?
Is this one I asked that we push this to the end to see what else gets passed, or?
If you would like for us to table this until the end, you can make that motion.
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay. Councilor Crabb has moved that we table this item until the end of our discussion. Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. What is your pleasure?
Move approval?
Councilor Woodson has moved for approval of item number 7, second by Councilor Garrett. Wow. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. One. Okay. Item number 8, motion carries. Item number 8.
That was item number 7 that carried.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. You were saying move on to item number 8. I got you. Item number 8, added to the list by Councilor Tucker for the Tax Commissioner's Office, is for the office supplies, and an increase of $12,500, representing 0.02 fund balance days.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye. I'm sorry. Did we have we now have an approval. Councilor Tucker and a second by Councilor Garrett. Any further discussion?
Need a second?
Councilor Garrett seconded it, Councilor Woodson. Any further discussion? Those in favor of item number 8, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9.
Yes, ma'am. This item was added by Councilor Huff for the Public Defender's Office. It's a 3% pay raise for state paid attorneys and the supplements that we give to the Chief Public Defender as well as the Assistant Chief Public Defender, plus the administrative fees that we pay. This amount is actually, this item is actually works in tandem with the item number 1 on page 3 in the other local option sales tax public safety fund. This particular item in the general fund is $41,978, representing 0.08 days. And if you flip to page number 3 of the OLOS public safety funds, that amount represents $4,765, representing 0.01 days of fund balance. You would have to approve those items in conjunction with each other.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen.
I'm concerned about the precedent this may set in light of the fact that our employees have been given less than 3% for several years, and I would think it would be in order to delay this till the end to see where we are when we get through. So I'd make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this item until the end of our discussion. Any further discussion? Those in favor of tabling this item say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item will be tabled until the end of our discussion. Ms. Alexander, number
10.
I'm sorry. We tabled item 9 and
9 and 10 is what my intention was.
9 and 10.
9 and 10. Got it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Item number 11 was added to the list by Councilor Garrett for the probate court. This is to reclassify a senior deputy clerk, grade 14B, to a licensed clerk supervisor, grade 15B. The amount of this with benefits is $2,189, and it actually doesn't calculate to adjust the reserve. 6 minutes, according to the judge.
We have a motion to approve by Councilor Garrett, a second by Councilor Crabb. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 12 is for Public Works. This item actually really works in conjunction with the item number 13, Public Works, is in item number 12, deleting a Fleet Maintenance Tech 1 position as well as a Fleet Maintenance Tech 2 position. This is valued at $87,128. It actually adds back to the general fund reserved by 0.16 days. And they are deleting those positions to add item number 13, which is 1 full-time car shop supervisor, grade 17, and to also reclassify the assistant fleet manager, grade 19E, to financial operations administrator, grade 20E. And the value of that addition is $57,821, representing 0.11 fund balance reserves reduction.
Councilor House.
I was just going to move to approve 12 and 13.
moving to approve 12 and 13. And Counselor Huff seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 14 on the list was added by Councilor Crabb for the Finance Department. This is to add one full-time payroll specialist, grade 16. The amount with benefits is $54,802. This represents 0.10 fund balance reserve days.
Move approval.
Counselor Crabb has moved approval. Counselor Tucker has seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The last item in the general fund was added by Councilor House. It is for the coroner's office. It is to reclassify the administrative assistant grade 12B to administrative coordinator grade 14A. This amount with benefits is $3,013. This represents 0.01 fund balance reserve days.
Counselor House has moved approval. Counselor Huff seconded. I see the coroner there at the podium. Do you wish to speak to this, Mr. Bryan? I'm not sure that you need to, but you can if you would like to.
I'd just like to thank everybody for recognizing the hard work and dedication that my administrative coordinator now, I hope, not assistant, but coordinator, because it takes a lot to coordinate what she does. And I appreciate John House recognizing how valuable people are to the department heads and to the elected officials. I appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate your support. We're out there doing our job for the citizens of Columbus. Most every one of you on the city council has had some kind of dealings with me or my staff. Bruce has got an open door policy at my office, so does his brother. And I appreciate it. I mean, I sincerely appreciate it from my heart, from my dedicated employee of 14 years. We tried for 9 years to get it. University of Georgia declined it. This year she gave it to us, and she deserved it. Did we get it? Well, let's vote for it.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Good job. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
So those are all of the items in the general fund. Moving on to the last page, because the third page has been tabled until the very end. But the last page is a staff adjustment for Public Works and the Integrated Waste Fund program. This is to remove the reclassifications that were inadvertently included that were not approved by CSU for certain waste operator positions, and this is a budget neutral addition. We'll just add back to the overtime budget that they used to decrease to make these adjustments.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by the Mayor Pro Tem to move approval, second by Councilor Woodson. Councilor Woodson, did you second?
I have made the motion, but yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so those were all of the items on the list, except for the ones that council wanted to delay for discussion. So that circles back to item number 9 and 10.
9 and 10.
Yes, and item number 1 on the OLOS page, which is page number 3.
I'm sorry, say that again.
It's items 9 and item 10 on the first page of the handout, and then item number 1 on the third page of the handout. Those are all connected.
Okay. Hold a minute. You're not on. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize for jumping out. I would like to make a motion that we delay this to mid-year budget adjustment to see how our budget is positioned and give us a little flexibility in moving forward with this, and also gives us time to study this increase a little further to see how it affects overall the employees in this department. I'm still not real clear on who is paid, whose salary and benefits are paid by the state, and whose salaries we are paying as a city. So I would like to delay this to mid-year.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to delay this until mid-year. Councilor Crabb, you want to speak to that?
I wanted to speak to something else. I was just wanted an update with everything that we have added and we voted on. How does that affect?
Let's come back to that.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Councilor Huff.
Yes, I'm good with the motion, Mayor Pro Tem. What I'd like to add to it is, you made mention that we have been working around the 2% mark with the employees over the past. So we could look into if that works for the council to, if we do this, to put them at a 2% versus a 3%. And if we could get Madam Finance Director to break this all out for me going from this point to mid-year to help me to understand how it affects the budget and again, like Mayor Pro Tem said, to make some clarity on the fact of how they get paid by whom.
Thank you, Councilor Huff. There's a motion on the table to delay this until mid-year budget review. Any further discussion? And I'm sure that that motion, Ms. Alexander, included you're bringing it back to us so that we don't forget it, right?
Yes. I'll bring that information back as requested.
Any further discussion? Those in favor of holding this until mid-year budget, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, well, that concludes the items on the add-delete list to Councilor Crabb's question as far as where we ended. Right now, the total fund balance reserve is 98.43 days. That is 60 days in the general fund and 38.43 days in OLOS.
So we're good.
Councilor Crabb, are you punch your button?
Yes, thank you. That answered my question. It does appear that we also added 49,840 back because of the 30,307 difference between item 13 and 12, and then the item on the last page from Public Works, 19,840. So does that go back into the general fund?
No, that item on the last page is for the integrated waste fund.
Okay, so that goes into the integrated waste fund.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the 30,307, does that go into the general fund?
Which item?
When you take item 13 and 12 from the first page, there's actually an increase of 30,307. There's a difference of 30,307 because the expense is 57,821, and what we deleted was 87,128.
Yes, so what was added back to the general fund when you tally those two items together, the dollar amount was $29,307. From a fund balance perspective, we added back 0.05 reserve days.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that clarification. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Alexander.
Well, that concludes the add delete presentation, I do want to make mention of the schedule.
Before you move off of that, item, page 4, the increased overtime in Public Works, are you saying we don't have to address that?
You've already voted.
We
on
did?
it. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, I got it. I got it. I got it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So as it relates to the schedule, the first Taxpayer Bill of Rights public hearing will be held at 9 a.m. on June 8th in this same room. Any citizen, the public, the members of council, staff, anyone is obviously welcome to come. This Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing is required by state law. We are required to hold 3 hearings. And you know what, actually, now that I say that out loud, I don't have that information yet from the tax commissioner's office in terms of the increase, but I do anticipate we'll likely receive one just based on the most recent digest that we received. So that is scheduled. The first Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing is scheduled for 9 a.m. on June 8th, but the second hearing being at 6 p.m. This will be a part of the regular council meeting. We'll have our council meeting beginning at 5:30 p.m. on June 8th, and we'll pause at some point close to 6 p.m. for the second Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing, as well as the first reading of the budget ordinance. On June 15th, this is a special call meeting that will be at 9 a.m. also at the Trade Center in the South Hall. We'll have our third Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing if needed, our second reading of the budget ordinance, as well as the first reading of the millage ordinance. Then our last meeting for the month will be June 22nd at 9 a.m. This is a regular council meeting in which council will vote on the millage ordinance.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Any questions for Ms. Alexander? Mr. City Attorney, are we good with all of these special meetings, and we've done everything we need to do to get those in place?
Yes, ma'am. The Clerk Davis will send her regular notice to the media about the actual meetings, but you've done everything necessary to set them.
Everything that we need to do?
Right.
Okay. Is there other business to come before the Budget Committee? Well, it looks like, according to the official clock, it is 4:27, and we have a council meeting that is scheduled to begin at 5:30. Move we adjourn this, Mayor Pro Tem has moved we adjourn this, and second by Councilor Garrett. If any of y'all want to stay and talk, go right ahead, but we're going to adjourn, okay? Meeting is adjourned.